What's up, y'all? And thank you for taking out the time to join I'm the Mama podcast. I'm your host, Ashley L. And I am joined by my two beautiful friends, Michael and Mo. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the importance of taking back your time. Okay. Time, and time. All right, we're going to be taking it all back. But y'all know before I begin, I have to give a shout out. First and foremost, I don't have on no makeup today because my girl did a spa little facial for me. You can check her out on Instagram at aesthetics by Avery underscore. And then also shout out to my homegirl, Kanisha, for mastering my braids. She is a perfection in it and quick at it. So be sure to go check her out as well at braided underscore by K. That's braided underscore BYK. All right, so we are going to jump into this. Like I said, I have my two beautiful friends that's joining us. I'm the Mama podcast. We're discussing the ins, outs, everything in between of being a mom. Okay. And one of the in betweens is learning how to take your time back. So, first and foremost, we're going to start off with you, Michael, for you to take the time out just to introduce yourself. Tell us about you and how you became a mom.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. Once again, I have a 1-year-old, and I'm also married. I've been married for about 3 years now. So that's me.
Awesome, awesome. And Mo, tell us a little bit about you and your family as well.
Sure. I have a little bit more of an interesting dynamic family. I am a mother of three. I am a boy mama all day, every day. But I have a son he'll be 15 next month. I have a son who is 5, and I also have a son who just turned 6 months. And I became a mom when I was 18. So I pretty much my whole adulthood has been being a mom. But I've loved it, every bit of it. So I'm also a wife. I've been married for about 2 years now, and my two youngest are with my husband. My oldest is from a previous relationship. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome,
Nice.
awesome, awesome. And y'all already know about me, your host, Ashley L. As long as you've been listening to the episodes, you're learning more and more about me and my family. But one thing I'll say is your girl has been, she was struggling for a little minute when it came to being able to take time out. Like, I was one that, I wasn't going anywhere. I wanted to be by my son's side at all times and just kind of sit there. Every begging need that he needed, I was right there and wanted to be right there. And trying to find time to just separate that was very, very challenging to me. All the way up, he turned one April 26th, all the way up to April 2nd. It was really me being in the house and me being okay with being in the house and not doing anything for me. But one thing I realized is in order for me to be the best mom, I had to learn how to kind of focus on myself and do more things for myself to make myself happy. And these two young ladies made it very clear to me on the importance of being able to take that time out as well. So it is what it is. But before we jump into a few questions that I wanted to ask the ladies, I actually did a poll on Instagram. And I was asking moms, like, hey, moms, when is the last time you took some time out for yourself? And surprisingly, I was getting things all the way from what's time? Like, what is that? All the way to some of them saying, I took some time today, or I take time at least once a week. And I'm like, kudos to you. I need to get there. I'm not going to say I can get that close, but I need to get more of that involved. And so, with Mother's Day recently passing, ladies, did y'all have an opportunity to take time out for yourself? Let's start off with you, Mo. Did you have some time to take for yourself?
I was able to. My husband let me sleep in with a 6 month old. I'm just gonna put this out here so y'all know my baby only nurses. He does not take a bottle or anything, so we are connected at the hip. So finding time is a challenge for me as well. But yes, Mother's Day was beautiful. My boys, celebrated me, and I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely had some good me time, and my husband was able to just, kind of take them off my hands for a couple hours, which was very much appreciated. So I had a great Mother's
Awesome.
Day.
Awesome. Awesome. And what about you, Michael? Did you have a great Mother's Day? Got to relax or do anything special?
I actually did. I actually got the entire day to myself. And that's only because my situation is a little different. So my husband and I are separated. So he had my son for Mother's Day.
Nice.
Mhm.
Well, look, a whole day to yourself.
Amen to that.
Look, what's that?
Right.
Exactly, exactly. So again, today's focus is all about taking time for yourself. So I wanted to kind of start off. We'll start off with you, Michael. When was it that you realized the importance of taking time out for yourself?
Um, I would say I made that change when I realized I wasn't happy with myself. Being a C-section mommy, that's difficult itself.
Mm,
But not being able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, I'm actually cool with, you know, who I am as an individual right now. Not that I don't like my transition. I think it's very new,
yeah.
being a first time mom. So I would say around when my son was maybe about 6, 7 months, I was like, okay, now I need time for myself. I need to either get into the gym or I need to start back school or I need to go back to work. I just needed to do something. And that reflection came from looking within myself and noticing that I wasn't paying me any attention.
Mm, I know that's right. Just taking out the time. Again, sometimes it takes that moment, and the mirror will definitely do it for you.
Definitely.
Right. So it takes that moment to be like, you know what? I'm not happy. I went through that as well. But again, I have others online. So we're not going to just talk about me. Mo, what about you? When did you find with three boys? Like, was it different for each one? And when did you find when did you figure out the importance of taking out some time for you?
Yeah, I mean, having them with such big age gaps, sometimes it's hard to recall if I'm honest. I mean, 15, 5, and 6 months, that's what could have been a time, good amount of time in between. But I would say with my first one, I definitely experienced a little bit of postpartum early on. So I
Mm,
was able to kind of recognize, okay, to be 18 and to have a baby and the changes that your body goes through, us as women are, it's different to experience it um later on in age, but to be fresh 18, it's like, oh man,
right.
this was a big shocker and it was a lot going on. So I would say within the first couple 3 months, I realized, okay, something needs to change. And kind of like what you said, Michael, is that, body image, I got into the gym, 15 years ago, The Biggest Loser was like a big deal at the gym. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
Yeah.
I was able to, join a gym. And I mean, sometimes it's not just physical, it's also mental, right? And that's kind of where
Mhm.
like the postpartum, just realizing like, okay, I need to, get my head back into this. Somebody is depending on me and looking at me to
Right.
support them. And I think that was kind of what made me realize, okay, you're responsible for this person and you got to be the best you to, you know, be the best you for them. And I would say just kind of looking at the three of them, I mean, every pregnancy is different, every
Mhm.
self reflection is different, every experience is very different. But I mean, even from 5 years to my 6 month old, it was just a
Yeah.
very different situation. I didn't have postpartum at all with my 5 year old. It was a very different type of situation. And I find myself now with my 6 month old, like I just want to hold on to every little moment, right? So I
Yeah.
don't want to miss anything. I don't want anybody to watch him. I don't want to be away. I don't want to miss a milestone. And I think as a mom, you got to kind of sit back and it's like, it's okay, to not be a part of everything, to not physically sit there and see everything.
That's true.
Um, so, I mean, it's very different for all of them, but I think very early on, you kind of realize, okay, I'm not the same person I was. And, quickly you need to pivot and adjust something to get back right to, the person that you really are. So yeah,
Yeah.
very early on.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, again, I know who I was before. Like I was again that extrovert, and COVID alone made me an introvert. And I feel like even when having a pandemic baby, it's a little bit different. Like one thing is having a baby, but having a pandemic baby during such a time, I think was a little bit more of a challenge. So we were all, staying in the home and things like that, and you're absolutely right. It was just that moment of tired of walking around being angry and trying to figure out doing a self reflection of myself. Like, you know what? I'm angry because I'm in this house all day trying to
Mhm.
be a mom, which again, being a mom isn't frustrating or anything, but that's just everything I was engulfed in was being a mom. So now I will say this past month, I've seen even a transition in myself. I feel like my skin is glowing and everything just because of that short amount of time that I've gone to, get a pedicure or gone to a wedding or whatever, just to kind of be away for a moment. So,
Mhm.
Michael, I do want to ask next in regards to like the transition. How was the transition for you when you did realize it?
It wasn't easy, because it's definitely my first time having a kid. I'm a first time mom. So, recognizing that I was just angry, like you said, for no reason. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
it took me some time to process where all those emotions and feelings were coming from. And I would say, it was just sitting like Mo mentioned earlier, mental health. I was able to go ahead and speak with a therapist, and doing in that I was able to do some self-reflecting and figure out what things I would need in order to transition into a better space. Um, but oh my gosh, that transition was very difficult. I definitely say it
I
was
can
a very
imagine.
difficult transition. But that process was, I would say, any day is worth it. Just sitting there dissecting and figuring it out, because overall, I'm a better person today because of that transition.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
I 100% agree with that. It takes a moment, but it's like once you finally get it, it's kind of oh, I need this. I need
Right,
this time for
right,
myself. So no, I
right.
definitely agree with that. So we all have significant others in our lives. I know I'll speak a little bit about myself. When it came to whether my husband was supportive of me, he was actually pushing me like, hey, you can't be like this. You need to take some time out for yourself. Now, I will say when it comes, there's two different things though. It's you need to take time out for yourself, but then me figuring out when without it being a suggestion of, hey, let me take it's like taking time out for yourself means me having to go somewhere. And it's like, no,
Right.
no, no. I feel like I can take time out at home. Let me get a little bit more sleep. Come get him.
Mhm.
So I think that was just a little disconnect we had on our end. My husband definitely wanted me to get out, because he saw it in me. He was like, it's not healthy what you're doing to yourself right now. But from my perspective, I'm like, well, yeah, just come get him for a little bit. Let me just sit in the room by myself. Let me watch a show that I want to watch by myself. That would have been fine for me. But let me ask you, Mo, like in regards to your husband, was he supportive of you when it came to, you getting to that point of time for yourself?
He definitely was, and he's very supportive, which I'm very thankful for because that's a very different dynamic than my oldest and his dad. So, I mean, it was very different situations when I kind of look back and compare the two. But he was, and I mean, to your point, right? Sometimes it's not getting out of the house. I think that's important too, to just get some fresh air. If it's a walk, if it's, hey, let me just go to the grocery store and leave these boys with you. I just need some deodorant, but I'm gonna spend an hour just walking up and down these aisles, right?
Right.
Like whatever that is. But yeah, I mean, he was really great about like, hey, he's more of an early bird than me. And so it was like, hey, I recognize that you need some time to sleep, and this is when he was baby, where it was like, okay, you're sleeping all the time anyway. So he was
Mm-hmm.
able to, just get him and, bring him back because he needed to nurse a couple hours
Right.
later. But just having that balance, I think that he really recognizes for me specifically because I'm the only one that's able to feed him, that okay, when he doesn't need to eat, let me take him off your hands so that you have, some time to rest and some time for yourself. So I definitely appreciate that. And I mean, even just having a 15-year-old, right? Like I have extra hands around this
Yeah.
house. Working from home, when he gets home from
Yeah.
school, it's come, he knows, hey, do you need me to grab my brother real quick? Let me get a snack and I got you. So I mean, I've been able to kind of just leverage, just looking at all the different pregnancies, having an older one, even with my 5-year-old, he was 9, about to be 10 at the time. He was extra set of hands to, grab this wipes or diapers or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was, or just more self-sufficient while I could focus on, the 5-year-old. And then just thinking back to when he was little, just to kind of give a good perspective, leveraging my mom and my
Mm,
sisters and, just other family members if you don't have a significant other, right? Like,
yeah.
I completely understand, I'm not separated right now, Michael, but I know what it was like to be a single mom before,
Hmm.
my current relationship. And it is challenging. And if you don't have an extra set of hands or you don't have someone, you really got to lean on your village and your community to kind of be there for you and help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing for us too. When we were pregnant, we were living in Kansas, so we had no family.
Mm,
On top of that, COVID, and then after we had our son, we still didn't have anybody fly in and come and help us. So I think it was like you said, it's definitely important for you to have that support. And as far as my husband understanding what I was going through, I think we both didn't understand. So
mm,
there's that
Right.
there, and that's difficult in its own for me for myself to figure out what's going on with me, and then in turn
right.
try to expect somebody else to understand me. Like that's not fair to them.
And it also caused
100.
like it I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, but it's a vulnerability, right? To say, hey, I don't know
Right.
how to identify what this is, but I'm not
Mhm.
happy, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, right? Like, you got to have a safe space to be able to communicate that or even feel, comfortable bringing it
Right.
to the forefront. So that's real.
I think with that, like you said, that is true. You have to have that comfortability and be able to be vulnerable with your partner. But I feel like I focused, like Ashley said previously, all my energy into being a mother. Sometimes I found like I breastfed as well originally, and sometimes I would choose to breastfeed over actually going to the bathroom to go
Yeah.
pee. So I would sit there with my bladder full, just neglecting myself, making sure he eats.
That's real.
That's so real.
It's
Hey,
like,
Michael, I feel you. There's times where I take the Bobby pillow with me, and it's like, you just don't have to come to this toilet
right,
with me. And I know
with
how
me.
unsanitary that sounds, but I mean, right? You it's almost like a guessing game where it's just like, when they are napping, it's like, do I wash dishes or do I get some sleep? Do I take a
Right,
shower or do I get something to eat or do I just lay here to just get a
right,
couple and I think so many moms can relate to that because you just, which one do you do, right? Well, how do I make
right.
this
Right.
work?
Yeah.
So,
And the
yeah.
Definitely
fear,
have to find a balance.
Mhm.
and the fear of not being a good mom, I think that plays a big role as well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that because again, and maybe it's because it's our first, Michael. I mean, I don't know, but I will say I wanted to make sure each and every day I was being the best mom. And, like you said, like, it's like, okay, he needs me right now. So he needs to be my focus. But I realized, he can cry, he'll be all right. And then sure enough, when he sees me, he's smiling and happy again. So,
Mhm.
just still again just giving that time, but I think it all comes with time itself. Like as they get older, you're learning more. In the beginning, and they're, you feel like, oh, they're fragile, I need to nurture them the whole time. But as they get older, you realize, okay, they're gonna be all right. Even
Right.
if their village, your village and stuff is helping out. I would say that was a big thing for me too, is not allowing my village to help in the very beginning, because of the fact it's like, no, I want to be the mom. I want to be there for him. I want to change his diapers. I want to nurse him. I want this bond. And it's like, that's one thing I wish I could take back, is allowing them, because they wanted to. They were ready to jump in, had a cesarean as well. They were ready to jump in for me. But it was like, no, I got it. I'm okay. And I feel like that's what actually prolonged my healing, because of the
Mhm.
fact I was trying to be this super mom when I didn't have to be. Bean still loves me the same way today as he did then. It was me that felt that way, that I needed to do all that. And again, sometimes we put ourselves in longer positions as far as healing and things like that, just because we can't easily allow somebody else to just take part and help us. So again, like Mo was even bringing up, let them dishes hold off. It's okay. Throw them
Mhm.
in a dishwasher. If you don't use the dishwasher, that's fine. But it'll get taken care of. But so that kind of goes into our next thing. I did want to ask, Michael, what are some of the ways that you do take time out for yourself?
I can recall the first the first time I started taking out for myself, I decided that I wanted to take pole dancing classes.
Nice.
Hey.
So I was like, I'm getting my sexy back. Bump
I
this.
know
I'm
that's
gonna love
right.
my body, however it is, or whatever is going on. I'm gonna love me, and I felt like that was my introduction to self-care. Um, just that it was a 1 hour class once a week, and
Mm,
just that alone, oh my gosh, it was so peaceful. It was just so peaceful and so necessary. And within that space, I was able to realize, okay, 1 hour is not enough, mommy. You
yeah.
need some more. You need some more. So yeah, that's definitely what my first thing was. And now that my situation is a little bit different, I have my son every other week. So I
Mhm.
have him 1 week, and then my husband, I have him the next. And with that, I have a lot more free time now. So I'm grateful for that. Of course, the situation is unfortunate, but I'm definitely grateful for the time that I can spend with myself, learning myself, and healing myself.
Nice, nice,
That's
nice,
awesome.
nice. And so, Mo, like, excuse me, how soon do you feel that moms need to start implementing time for themselves? Again, I know for all of us, it sounds like it was a moment that clicked, that we realized it. But if we could put like a time to it, how soon do you feel like they should start doing that?
I mean, that's such a, personal question to a certain extent, right? It all depends on how, some moms never experience postpartum, they bounce back and are,
Yeah.
back to life as normal. But I think for anyone that is struggling, I think the sooner that you are starting to feel that you're not, normal, the normal you,
Yeah.
if that's a couple weeks, if you realize it's a couple months, but, the sooner that you can address it, the better, because, that journey of getting back to yourself or getting back to somewhat of a normacy
Hmm.
is important. So, I mean, I would say the sooner the better. But I mean, my cow, I wish I was adventurous as you into pole dancing because that sounds like fun. But I'm a little, I'm- I pretty much am just telling my husband, like, I remember saying to him, like, I think I read an article where it was just like, a woman should at least have 15 minutes a day. If it's just to take a shower, to nap, to get some
Yeah.
food, like just a quiet moment, at least 15 minutes a day. And I remember telling him that, and he was like, "Oh, 15, like you can at least have an hour, like, that's fine."
Hmm.
So,
Thank you.
right, I appreciate it.
Right.
I will take it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
leaving
what's
now.
up.
But I mean, just I love taking showers and baths and just like self-care, listening to music where, it's just kind of a moment. Maybe it's not actually leaving the house for me, or
Hmm.
it wasn't in the very beginning because I was just so attached, but just having a quiet moment around the house where, okay, it's rowdy with three boys. They are loud and obnoxious and crazy, but just being able just to have a quiet moment. But for me, I've started going back to Massage Envy. I have a monthly subscription, and because of COVID, so many of them have stacked up. So now I'm like, okay, well, I can go a couple times a month with all the ones I've saved. So if y'all need some, I got y'all. Y'all can use
Yes,
some.
ma'am.
But
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, it's so important.
Yeah, definitely important. So interestingly, I was reading over some articles, and so according to parenting.firstcry.com, it's an article I read. They state it's important to take out dedicated me time for moms because it's when you're happy that your child's happy. Many moms tend to feel guilty if they can't attend 24/7 to their children's call. The mom's guilt can weigh you down and doesn't allow for a balanced existence between the woman and the mother in you. So that brings up my last question. And I'm going to talk about myself for just a moment. Again, I think I've kind of talked about it a few times already, but just that guilt of not wanting to leave my child. Not saying that I didn't trust anyone else. It wasn't about trust. It was just, I don't want to leave your side because I know you're okay, or I've learned your cry, so I know what you need, so I can take care of you. Um, so, even when I went to a wedding recently, like I said, that was my first real outing, and my husband stayed home and was with my son, and I kind of felt guilty, like, okay, I need to hurry up and get back home. It's time for me to get back home. I've been gone for a little bit too long. I need to make sure everything's going okay with him and that he's okay. But it's like, I guess for you ladies, and we'll start off with you, Michael. Did you ever have a moment of guilt when it came to taking time out for yourself?
Absolutely. And that goes back to, I always felt guilty. And that goes back to, like I said before, even trying to go to the bathroom, instead of feeding you, putting you down for a second. It's like
Right.
I'm always in the back of my head wondering if I'm being a good enough mom. Am I being a
Mm,
good enough wife? Is everything being taken care of the way, um, not how people would expect it to be, but above standards? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, without being asked and all? And it just became very overwhelming. And I think
yeah.
also, I don't know if you could reckon with this, but would you feel like it's a control thing?
I
I
mean,
w-
what I just said it when I just thought about it, the exact words I was just saying was like, you're trying to control the house. But yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
during that time, I don't think that way. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess when you actually look at it, then yeah, it is, it sounded controlling at least. Yeah,
yeah, I
absolutely.
that just kind of makes me think of a time where I try to take a shower, my mini showers that I like to take, and I could hear my son just screaming, crying, and I was kind of yelling down at the top, bottom of the stairs to tell my husband, like, just bring him to me, bring him to me. And so he didn't hear me clearly, and so I came downstairs, and he was at the bottom of the stairs, kind of doing a lap, trying to get him to comfort him. And I just came downstairs in a towel, snatched the baby, and went back upstairs. And I remember him telling me later, like, that made me feel like, you know, you felt like I can't watch him for a few minutes to get a shower. You're incompetent. And I just wasn't even aware of myself. I was more frustrated, like, why you didn't hear me? And to just really self reflect, where it's like, okay, that is a little controlling, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
should be able to soothe him. I'm not the only one that can soothe him. He will be
Right.
okay. I'll get him back and I'll soothe him like normal. So I think if we're honest with ourselves, it is a little bit of control because nobody can do it as good as we can, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
even though it's not true, I know those cues. I know that you need to burp right now. I know that you're gassy or fussy, and you need this boob so I can nurse you, and no one else got these boobs but me, or whatever
Exactly.
the case may be.
Right.
So I do agree that it is a little bit of control in that sense.
And I would say, like, as far as our household, I think it kind of prevented my husband from asking me to be able to watch my son sometimes or just kind of get him for some time. Because in the very beginning, he pointed out to me later, he was like, in the beginning, you act like you knew everything and that my way wasn't correct. And, in my mind, kind of like what you just said, Mo, like, no, I'm just trying to help out. I wasn't trying to control. I'm just trying to help. He's crying. Let's try to get him calm or whatever. And I know how to calm him. But it did come to a point where he ended up admitting, like, you were doing it so much that I didn't even want to be bothered. He was like, I was just gonna let you have it. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, you're letting me do all of this by myself. Where are you? But so
Right.
it's like I continue to say, it's important to be able to communicate because he was looking at it as you seem like you got it, and then you're pushing me away, and I'm looking like, why aren't you doing more? You know, so that communication and just even with frustration is so important and so vital for the relationship itself, because again, as it continues, it's going to continue to be more and more things that happen. It doesn't stop with the child. Like, as they get older, it's going to be more things. And so as long as you continue to practice that communication, whether you are just acknowledging that you hear each other, or at least acknowledging that that person's opinion is valid, whether you agree with it or not, that's the most important part of all of this. But we're about to start kind of wrapping up some things. I just wanted to make sure, and I appreciate you ladies first and foremost just taking out the time to share your experience, as well as hopefully this can and has been enlightening to someone else, maybe a new mom or a soon-to-be mom, or someone who's thinking about possibly becoming a mom, in regards to just the things that we've gone through and what they may see and be able to have that indicator of, I need some time for myself. But one last thing, we have just a few more moments. I do want to ask you both, and we'll start off with you, Michael, on any recommendations that you would like to provide to the moms as they are either experiencing something and not really knowing what's going on, or as they start taking time out for themselves.
Yeah, so as far as taking out time for yourself, I really feel like that starts during the pregnancy. But if you want to say when the baby comes, if you think about it, when um, when your child is born, then the nurses usually tell you, hey, put them in the bassinet. Don't let them sleep with you.
Yeah.
So they actually understand how important it is for you to have your own space immediately, and not to allow the child to enter into your marriage and into your bed in a
Mm,
negative way.
yeah.
So I think that is very important to make sure that you implement that self love and self time during the pregnancy, and even more so after the baby is born. Um, and some things to look for is just feeling heavy. Make sure you're not feeling heavy. Make sure you're feeling light. Make sure you're if you're needing someone to talk to, that you're leaning on a therapist, because like even with COVID, I know they didn't allow us to have those classes that we needed with
Hmm.
normal pregnancies. Normally they'll take those breathing classes and give you some first time mom classes and stuff like that. We didn't have those things. So I would definitely advise anybody to take those classes and to take heed to what they're saying.
Absolutely. And Mo, any recommendation that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all some really great recommendations. And I mean, you're so right, Michael, in terms of just the nurse identifying that early on, right? Like that's major. I would say really just leaning in to your community, let people make meals and bring them to you. Don't try to be superwoman and try to do it all, because you're going to burn yourself out. And then you're going to realize that you need that time sooner. And like you said, Michael, kind of just establishing that from the very beginning, having some dedicated you time, if it's daily, weekly, if it's just having something to look forward to, if it's getting your nails done. I know recently that's something that I've picked up on, just, trying to feel feminine again and not feel like, okay, just walk around here like a little scrub bucket all the time. So, but yeah, I would really say, if you're a single mom, if you're a married mom, if you're a separated mom, whatever level of mom or whatever your situation is, lean into those other relationships. If it's the grandparents, if it's your friends, church members, whoever it is that's close to you. And like you said, if it's not a therapist, or, you know, at least be talking to someone that you trust and that is a safe space for you, that you can really lean on. Because I mean, I remember, my mom is passed now, but with my first one, just having postpartum and having just crazy thoughts, right? Things that you might not necessarily want to just say to any and everyone, but having that safe space to be able to communicate how you're feeling, and for someone to understand and be able to kind of help guide you out of that dark place, if you will. So I think
No.
that's really important.
No, definitely, definitely, definitely. Well, y'all know I'm not ending without an inspirational quote for the day, but I definitely want to thank you, ladies, for joining me today. As far as the inspirational quote of the day, self care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. And that's by Katie Reed. And so I think that speaks for itself. It goes along with everything that we've discussed today. But I definitely hope that you've learned, or again, even if it's just a little bit of advice that you've received from this. Of course, I thank you for taking out the time to listen today. Please be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And be sure to join the next episode. It kind of goes hand in hand with this as well, as we're going to focus on postpartum and how to get back to a healthy you. Okay. I am going to be joined by a therapist so that we can even get a little bit more tips on the therapist side on some ways that we can go ahead and start implementing that now. But again, you are watching I'm the Mama podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, keep your head up, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And see you next time. Take care.